Assalamu alaikum people. Today, we're going to go over how do we introduce ourselves. Last video was about my introduction and why do I think I'm qualified. So today we're going to talk about how do we introduce ourselves to people. Basically, there's a couple of things that you need to keep in mind in order for the introduction to be well and perfect. Number one is that the first part is going to be about how to introduce yourself to people if it's just a one-on-one conversation or anywhere if people are less than three people you're introducing yourself to, and then we will move on to the group introduction. So the first thing you need to keep in mind is that be confident. There's nothing to be afraid of. The people you're introducing yourself to are just as hesitant as you are. So it's nothing. Just keep your mind free and just be relaxed. Secondly, you need to roll your shoulders back and make sure your spine is straight. First, and also you need to understand that your chin must be parallel to the ground, which means that your chin should be at this level because the ground is here and that my chin is here. It should not be like this. I should not do this because what this does is it shows that a level of inferiority. If I do this, then it shows a level of superiority. If you put your chin parallel to the ground, that's perfect. Your chest should be straight like mine is, and your shoulders should be rolled a bit back. That gives a perfect image that you're confident and that you're ready to talk and have a good time. This applies to walking straight. This applies to sitting. This applies to standing. So basically everything this applies to. You need to keep your spine straight and you need to keep your chin parallel to the ground. Obviously, like in sometimes you have to look at your phone and stuff. That's an exception. But as a general principle, you need to keep your chin straight to the ground. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that you have to make firm eye contact with the people, because eye contact shows that you're not scared. Eye contact shows that you are ready to have a good time, basically, as I said before. You need to make sure that your eye contact is firm, clear, and visible, but don't make it too intense. Like, don't be like, you know, just keep it cool and just be natural. I'm sure you guys will do well. Obviously, depending on the scenario, you need to make eye contact. If there are three people, you need to judge. If you're talking to the person in the middle, then you need to keep eye contact with the person in the middle, as well as the person on the left and the person on the right. So what this does is that this includes everybody, and we will go over this later when we're talking about the group introduction. Another thing is you need to smile, but also depending on the scenario and depending on the setting, we will talk about that in a later video. But as a general principle, you need to smile because smile brings a sense of warmth, brings a sense of pleasantness, which will make people appreciate you, and as well as that will make people understand that your purpose is not to cause them harm, because a person who will cause you harm will not smile. A person who's pleasant will smile. And who doesn't like to hang out with people who are pleasant, right? Before going up and introducing yourself, you need to take a deep breath and you need to understand that you are talking with your diaphragm and not your throat. Let me give you an example. If you're talking with your throat, your voice naturally goes up, whereas if you're talking with your diaphragm, your voice goes lower, your voice goes deeper, as mine just did. So you need to understand that this is really essential. Once you talk with a deep voice, it shows supreme confidence. It shows that you're not afraid of most settings and you're not afraid of most situations. So you need to make sure your voice is lower, but don't make it like Batman, like I'm Batman. Don't do that. That's gonna freak people out. So you need to make sure that your voice, you're talking from your chest. Exhale and inhale from your chest. Your chest, you will know when you're inhaling from your chest is when your chest and your stomach goes up. Instead of, if your shoulders go up, then you're inhaling from your throat. Whereas if your chest and your stomach go up, that means you're inhaling from your chest. That's something that you should look out for, and that's something that you should do. What this does is it also makes your voice naturally deeper because you're talking from your diaphragm, and also it makes it makes the conversation seem more relaxed. It makes the conversation seem more appreciated. Let's say like you want to be there, but whereas if you're talking from your throat, that shows like you're kind of annoyed and you're kind of like half there, half not, something like that. I've read. Now we're gonna talk about the handshake, which is a very very essential part of being a man, because you have to make handshakes unless somebody has COVID. Don't make handshakes then. So there are two ways of, well, actually three ways of making a handshake, a proper handshake, and the first one is if you put your hands like this, slightly tilted. This shows a bit of arrogance, but at the same time it can also show confidence, but depending on the scenario and the situation. The second one is you keep your hand straight and you just shake it, right? What this shows is it shows a perfect balance of confidence and inferiority. I don't know how to explain that any better than this, but this is what it signifies. It so basically cancels each other out. You're not feeling superior and you're not feeling inferior. And what this does is you shake it like this. There's two meanings behind the open palm shake. One is that either you supremely respect the person that you're shaking your hand like this with open palms, or that it shows that you put the other person on a pedestal and you make them kind of superior to you, which shows that you have an inferiority complex. So the best way to shake hands is straight and make it firm. Your lower pinky, I mean your pinky should grip their hand, and your thumb should come as a press. You should press with your thumb and your lower pinky, but don't squeeze, because you're not showing off your strength. Even though I'm sure you guys are strong, you're not showing off your strength, right? So that's the basic introduction of how to introduce yourself, one-on-one or or an audience less than three people. In group scenarios, that's a different thing. However, you have to understand that in group scenarios it can be a little daunting because there are many people, and many people, all eyes are basically on you. But you have to stay relaxed, and you have to stay composed, and you have to stay just free. You know, if it goes wrong, it goes wrong. Nothing matters. I mean, they will forget it within 30 seconds. If you watch the last video, I mentioned this. Like, people don't remember bad interactions for more than 30 to 45 seconds. Whereas people remember good interactions for a long period of time, because positivity makes an impact. Negativity, not so much. So, what we're gonna do with this group interaction is take a step back. If you identify a group that you are interested in or that you think can bring you some value, take a step back, right? I mean that metaphorically. Take a step back and just analyze the group dynamic for just a minute or 2 minutes, and you will understand that who is the most respected and who is the most charismatic, and etc. etc. That's the person you should look out for. And when I say look out for, I mean that's the person you should introduce yourself first. If you introduce yourself to other people first, it's not a bad thing, but mostly it's like a subconscious thing, because the so-called leader of the group, who's the most charismatic, the most charming, who people look up to the most, they will feel like a certain type of way. Whereas if you introduce yourself first to them, because nobody else does this, they will feel respected. And once they feel respected, they will feel like more times than not, they will be more receptive to you. And since they will be more receptive to you. The entire group will be more receptive to you. You need to follow the exact same things I mentioned for the one-on-one interaction, but this was just a little tiny smidge that you need to also keep in mind for a group thing. And make sure to not hit on girls in a group dynamic, because unless or until you have like supreme confidence and you can, do crazy things, which probably this video isn't for you. um, don't stay away from that, because if you do that, then the guys will get defensive and the whole group dynamic will just shift towards the negativity aspect against you. And that's all I have for today. Thank you guys for listening. Inshallah, we'll see you next video. Bye guys.